and just so many people are naysayers, especially when they're like, you haven't done this, or you haven't done that, or you don't have this experience, you don't have that experience. But I just lived my life with, I'm going to receive everything I can. I'm going to use it moving forward. And I'm not going to take any criticism from you if I wouldn't take advice from you. And I think that's what helped me stay positive.
Oh, I love that. Have you ever faced circumstances so limiting that they made you question if a different future was even possible? Today, I sit down with Kim Kelly, Executive Program Director and CEO of Christ's Kitchen, whose work is changing lives by helping women break free from generational poverty and adversity. Kim's journey isn't just about personal success, it's about lifting others up, one life at a time. Her passion and this episode will leave you inspired to rethink what's possible, no matter where you start. Get ready for a conversation about breaking cycles, embracing hope, and finding strength in unexpected places with Kim Kelly on this episode of Navigating No. Kim, thank you for being here today. And thank you for being such a positive light, not only to me, but to so many people out there and doing what you do in this community. So thank you for coming on today.
Oh, friend, thank you so much. It's an honor and a privilege to be here.
Well, not many people know this, but when I moved from Seattle to Spokane, you were one of the first people to bring me on to speak locally. And ironically, I thought, like, when I moved back to Spokane, it'd be really easy just to speak locally as well, because I speak more nationally and internationally than Spokane. And you were one of the first people to bring me on and hire me as a speaker. And I'm forever grateful for that, because you have opened up so many doors to me and made a difference in my life. And that's what you do for everybody and all the women that you work with.
Blue, I thank you for that. Those are very kind accolades. But I have to tell you, friend, you make a difference in so many lives on the daily. Just sharing your story is so powerful and impactful. And you're a remarkable speaker. So yeah, kudos to you as well, my friend.
Well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate the opportunity that you gave me and how you opened up your family to my family, and you just introduced us to so many within the community. And it's like, Spokane is small enough that you have to have a good reputation, and you spread the word, and not only the word of God, right? But at the same time, it's like you just spread positivity around people that you're surrounded by, and you do such great work. And it really, you do bring a light to so many people, Kim, and you should be proud of yourself on that.
Thank you, friend. Thank you. I appreciate that very much.
Well, I appreciate you. So you did, you have a giant resume as well. You have done a lot. And when we first spoke, we started talking, and you were like, oh, yeah, well, I'm the chaplain at the Air Force Base. I'm the chaplain for the Spokane Police Department. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I know so many people in these different arenas, and we actually know a lot of the same people. And I think it's so great when you make those kind of connections, and you're just one of those connectors in our community and in this world.
I love that, friend. Yes, Spokane is the smallest little big city in the world. So yeah, it is. It's a lot of fun.
Well, how did you get to Christ's Kitchen, and what is your journey along the way? Like, how I know that you married your high school sweetheart, Ed. Like, what is your journey? Like, can you tell the audience about where you came from and where you are, why you are where you are right now?
Absolutely, friend. Well, it's funny that very few people get the honor of having your passion and your career collide. And if you would have asked me that as a child, if that was going to be my story, I definitely would have said no. I was truly born into poverty. My mom was a 15-year-old mama, and she was homeless, and we were living in abandoned houses in Spokane. So I definitely know poverty. I know the sting of poverty. My family is also riddled with addiction, and that is not always the case, but yet on a very high percentage, poverty and addiction are linked. It's a generational curse, and it comes with its own barriers and set of no's. So I learned early on what poverty feels like. And I knew from a very young age, I didn't want this to be my story. I
Oh,
didn't want to be, I didn't want to live in poverty.
did you, how old were you? Like, did you know what poverty was? Did you have friends who had money? Did you know that you didn't have anything? Or
Yeah.
was that the normal? Like you just, that's how you were and you didn't know any different.
Well, I think at a young age, you don't know what you don't know. But getting into grade school, getting into school, um, we obviously didn't live in a rich community, being in poverty, but you definitely know by the time you get to junior high and high school where I can't afford the clothes that everybody else is wearing. I'm wearing things from, the Goodwill and hand me
Yeah.
downs and those types of things. And kids were mean then, they're even more mean now. I mean, it's just, if you stand out, you stand out, and they're going to let you know. So yeah, it was definitely something that I was aware of, that we just did not have means. So yeah.
Well, even though I grew up on the South Hill, and I grew up in let's call it a mansion. It was a huge, dilapidated mansion.
Mhm.
And people just assumed I was rich. Yet at the same time, we shopped at Kmart, we were at
Yeah.
Goodwill. And I remember in junior high, the first time I got a pair of Nikes, these kids turned to me and they said, "Oh, you finally got some Nikes," right? Because I
Yes.
was always wearing the off-brand, and I had no
Yes.
idea any difference until they started making fun of me, and
Yeah.
not for my name because I got
Yeah.
plenty of that. This was because my status was I was poor and I didn't
Yeah.
have the means to it, and it
Yeah.
was like that was very hard hitting for me. You felt that, and people made fun of you. Did that
Mhm.
drive you, obviously, to think, I don't want the same thing for my life? I don't want to live a
Oh,
life
yeah.
of poverty.
Absolutely. I don't want this. I absolutely don't want this stigma, because that's what it is. I mean, you are seen and looked at differently. I
Yes.
didn't want that. And I knew I wanted different for other people too. I wanted different. I didn't want this to have to be the status quo for anybody. I feel like poverty has a line, and if you can't rise above it, then you are below it and you stay below it. And I'm like, this cannot be. This absolutely cannot be. And just like you, friend, I remember the very first store bought pair of shoes that my brother and I got. I was almost 13, and it sucked because we got matching shoes. And I'm like, I definitely don't want to match my brother. Okay.
Yeah.
But so it's great and bad all at once. I'm like, I got ugly boy shoes, but they're brand new. So I love it. But yeah, it's those kind of memories that really make that I'm poor. Yeah.
Well, and you appreciate it. Like
Oh, most definitely.
I mean, staying on the shoe topic,
Mhm.
I knew what Blue Light Special was, not because of my name,
Yes.
but because of
Yes.
Kmart.
Yeah.
And I grew up with what do you call them? The snow boots, the moon boots,
Moon boots.
and
Yes.
moon boots, and I had duct tape on them. And
Yes. Oh,
that's how like we had to reuse them and keep using them. And the worst thing, and I'll always remember this, is they leaked, and so my
no.
mom would take bread bags
Red bags.
and
Oh,
put them over my socks so I could fit in them and not get
oh
wet.
yeah.
And the
Yeah.
worst part, Kim, was that they were full of crumbs.
Oh
Like
my
they weren't
God.
clean bags. So I took my shoes off at school, and I
Oh,
I look back at that, and it's just like one of those memories. And
it is.
Susie Orman talks about that. Like, what was your first emotional hit with money? And
Mhm.
can you remember it? Because that is what
Yeah.
probably imprints on you what your emotion or attachment to money is. And
Yeah.
that I look back at it now and it's funny, right?
Yes.
I do. And I think it's like,
Now it
man,
is.
I really appreciate those moon boots. Like I feel like
Yes.
Napoleon Dynamite. But at, at the time, that my mom did the best that she could. And
Mhm.
and there was no
Mhm.
hatred on it because I wasn't smart enough to even realize that kids were
Yeah.
making fun of me about that. I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
what, this is normal to me. But you
Yes.
felt that.
I did I did, because there's more that's associated with that, right? So I remember walking downtown with my mom and my brother and my nanny, and my mom was trying to hawk her wedding ring so that we could have Christmas presents. I remember those
Oh,
things being a part of my reality. And I thought, I felt so horrible for my mom, but I also thought, this is not right. I don't want this life. I don't want to have these feelings. I don't want to see women, my mom, going through these things. I just knew I needed to be a catalyst for change, not only for my own life,
yeah.
for my children, future children, and for women. I wanted to be a change for women. I just didn't want this is where we stay because we're at poverty.
Well, and I think that's great because you realize and you not only accept it like, okay, here's where I am, but what was the catalyst to actually what was your process? Like what moved you? What
Yeah.
moved the needle for you? What did you do to take control? Did you have a confidence team around you? Did you have friends? Was it your mom? Like, how did you get out? How did you beat the rat race?
So honestly, friend, I just knew I wanted change, and something inside of me burned for difference. I wanted, not that I wanted a lot of material things, but I
Hmm.
didn't want to constantly be told no. I know what it was like for food insecurity, like you. I know
Hmm.
what it's like. We had limited health access. My teeth, I would have loved to have been able to have,
Braces
beautiful
or
teeth,
mhm.
braces, things like that, access to higher education, social isolation. Those were things that were my reality. And honestly, discrimination, the fact that you have lack of choices, right? You have a very small amount of choices. And I just thought, this isn't okay. It's not okay that because we're dealt with the cards that we're dealt with, that we were dealt, and it's not necessarily a character thing. It's not
Mhm.
necessarily, you made poor choices and you have character defects, so you're poor and you deserve to
Mhm.
be poor. That's not necessarily the case. So something inside of me just said, this is wrong. There
Well,
has to
especially
be
in
change.
our in a country that we live in, it
Yes.
shouldn't even be we shouldn't even be
Yes.
talking about this.
No, 100%, friend. Yeah. So I just think in everything I witnessed, I thought, this isn't right. For us to go to the store, I remember a Father's Day. My mom sent my brother and I to the store. Back then in the day, you could send your kids to the store, and they would come back safely.
With
But
cigarettes.
yeah, and I went to get cigarettes for my mom. Yes. So, we weren't poor enough that she couldn't have
Sure.
cigarettes, but
Sure.
I'm just saying, it was Father's Day.
Mhm.
And my brother and we went to get cigarettes. And I remember us standing in the bakery, Blue, and there was a cake. And I looked at the money and I looked at the cake, and it was a Father's Day cake. And I'm like, we could get this for Dad. And so my brother and I bought the cake. We were so happy all the way home. We presented this cake to my dad. My mom started crying and she's like, we can't keep this cake. You have to bring it back. So my
Oh,
brother and I made the trek back to the store. I said, I'm so sorry, we have to return this cake. And the lady at the store said, you know what, honey? You're going to take this cake back home. And I just remember thinking at that time, I was embarrassed, but I was so joyful that she
mhm.
cared enough to say, you're going to have this cake. And, I remember those things as a small child. So when you say, what was your pinnacle moment? I just think it was growing up in poverty and knowing this can't be the end all. It can't be. And this is not only my reality, it's other people's reality. And we have to be change. We have to see change. And for me, it was, I have to be the change that I want to see. That's the only way it's going to happen. And I think that's the truth for everybody. We can all sit and complain about it, but if you want change, you have to put some skin in the game to be that change, to be a driving force for that change, because oftentimes the people who need the change don't have the voice.
Absolutely. Or they don't have the confidence to do it, right?
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
don't believe in themselves. They have this imposter syndrome where they're like, I'm not, somebody else will do it, or somebody
Yeah.
else will help
Yes.
me, or I'm just
Yes.
waiting for the next person to help me. And it's like sometimes you do have to do it. And what you said is that you not only you wanted this change because everybody wants more, everybody, and I don't
Mhm.
mean monetarily, it's just like
Right.
a better life. right?
Mm-hmm.
And everybody wants that, but you also experienced it. And I think that
Yeah.
gives you that, let's call it literally street cred,
Yeah.
where you've
Yeah.
gone through the fire
Mhm.
and you're learning your own path through that fire. And now you help other people through that fire because
Yeah.
you know the experience, you know the pain points, you know how much it hurt, how embarrassing it was, how awful it was. And
Yeah.
so you're this person that can carry somebody through that fire.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can walk the walk because you've done it. You can say I've been there. I know what it's like, and you can rise above it as well. And it's not like there was a secret moment or a decoder key that didn't
Yeah.
happen, but it was every single circumstance I came to. I'm like, what can I mean, there were so many times, Blue, I'm like, why am I here? Why is this happening? Why is this happening to me? But I took every single opportunity and experience that I could, gleaned what I could from it, and then brought it into the next season. And just thought, okay, I have that in the back of my head, good, bad, or otherwise. I'm going to move forward with it. And just so many people are naysayers, especially when they're like, you haven't done this, or you haven't done that, or you don't have this experience, you don't have that
Yeah.
experience. But I just lived my life with, I'm going to receive everything I can. I'm going to use it moving forward. And I'm not going to take any criticism from you if I wouldn't take advice from you. And I
Ooh.
think that's what helped me stay positive.
Oh, I love that. Um, it, when you're going through this and you were like, okay, I see this positive person that I would like to become, and there was all of these little, let's call it
Mhm.
information, experiences, this confidence that you were
Yeah.
gaining along the way, because it
Mhm.
didn't just all of a sudden happen.
No.
You didn't all of a sudden go from blonde hair to gray hair. It was like
Right.
there was a transition for you to
Yeah.
learn this, and you were taking these steps and you were growing as an individual. Was there a point along that path that you were like, you looked back, you went, I'm no longer
Mm.
in poverty? Like,
Yeah.
was there like a this
Yeah.
epiphany?
Well, I don't think it happened like that. I think it was just a journey, right? It was each step. I call myself the Heinz 57 girl because each experience I had, I took a little bit from it. And God used each and every one of those experiences and opportunities because, friend, when we come to any experience, when we come to anything, we have to look at it as an opportunity for growth,
Mm-hmm.
good, bad, or otherwise, right? We may not want to be there at all in the moment, but there's something to be gleaned from it. And so if you can take that, if you can have that oversight and be like, no, I don't want to be here, but I'm going to gain everything I can to make myself better
Mm-hmm.
and use that moving forward. So I remember when my husband and I got married, we were poor. I mean, we were poor. I remember sitting watching family movies with our kids, and we had a futon mattress, and that was it. That was our couch. It was folded up. And I remember my oldest daughter, turning and look, and she goes, "Mom, I do not remember us being that poor." And
Oh,
that's a victory. I'm like, praise Jesus. That is a victory. So I think it's staying positive in this situation, but never staying status quo. Always knowing there is hope on the horizon, and I'm chasing that hope. I'm going to chase that hope. Period. There's always something there if we look for it.
hope
Or do
is
we
a
just
good
stay in the
thing.
dark? Right? Hope is a great thing. It's
Mm-hmm.
a great thing. And you're going to have people that are going to try and tear you down. We all have that. But
Mm-hmm.
again, just living by, if I'm not going to take criticism from you, if I wouldn't take your advice.
That
And I've
is
had great people
gold.
that have given advice that I have gleaned from and
Mm-hmm.
has launched me. So yeah.
Well, and you obviously got out, but was
Yeah.
there a point where you had mentioned like you're not going to take this criticism from people that you're not going to take advice from, and I
Mhm.
think that's golden. I really do. I think that's sound
Mhm.
advice, and I want the audience to hear that because it's so important.
Yeah.
It was there somebody, and are there multiple people who you had mentioned like people didn't believe in you. Oh, you don't have the experience necessary. Oh, you're
Mhm.
too poor. Oh, you didn't grow up here. Was there somebody
Yeah.
who gave you a chance?
Do you know what? There were multiple people that
Okay.
thought, I'm going to start you here and let's see what happens. I'm going to start you here. I mean, I look at all the different jobs I've had, right? And being marketing, and I mean, I started out in marketing and business growth and development. What do you do with that? It's really hard, but
Mm-hmm.
marketing is always the department to get cut because people think they can market themselves. Um, but each time I got fired or I got let go or my department was cut, I would be like, God, why is this happening? Why is this happening? But each time somebody gave me a chance, I
Mm-hmm.
used everything that I learned to launch me into the next season. We can either stay stuck or we can use everything that we've gleaned and march forward with pride and dignity, right? Believe in yourself. Um, and I think that's why I love where I'm at today, because God took all of those opportunities, those
Mm-hmm.
Heinz 57 opportunities,
Love that.
which some people might see that as a negative, but I don't. I see that as God preparing me for what he has me doing today in the lives of these women who are coming from poverty, and they can be like, she did it. She did it.
Yes.
And
Well,
they can do it.
and I that message is so important because the whole idea behind what I started this podcast for is the message that nobody's alone. Like there is somebody
Mhm.
out there who's gone through the
Mhm.
pain that you're going through. Somebody
Mhm.
has been rejected like you. Someone
Yeah.
has failed epically like you. Other
Mhm.
people don't believe in themselves. Other people have been told you're not good enough and that you suck
Yes.
and that you're too poor and you're not
Absolutely.
beautiful enough, you're not good enough. And
Yeah.
it's just like there is someone else out there who has experienced that. And
Mhm.
honestly, it's almost every single one of us. Like
Amen. Amen.
everyone has experienced
Mhm.
that. And so coming together and being able to have this platform to share with people that you're not alone,
Mhm.
and knowing right away that you're not alone, somebody out there has gone through this before you, the fire.
Mhm. Mhm.
How beneficial is it to hear somebody else's message, somebody else's story,
Yeah.
and take from that, and then that might inspire or motivate or push you to realize that if they did it, I can do it too. And you
Absolutely.
do that every single day at Christ Kitchen.
Thank you, friend.
Every
Thank
day.
you. Thank you. And I had, like I said, I had some great people invest into me. I knew the leaders I really loved. I knew the leaders I didn't. I knew I wanted to take this from this leader, and I didn't want to do that from this leader. And if you can, again, just look at each one of your experiences as something I'm going to learn from, and
Mm-hmm.
then use that to develop yourself. Um, and not for yourself, for a purpose, right? I mean,
100%.
we need to move forward with a purpose. If we're just doing nothing but investing into ourselves and not seeking to be a leader of some kind, then I think that we're failing in this life. Everybody has so much to offer. And we live in a world that needs, we need great leaders. We need people to invest into people. And
Well,
yeah,
and it is our differences that make us so special because
yes.
there is no one like you. There's no one like me. And
Yeah.
there are people that have more than me and have better
Mhm.
experiences or live in a better spot or have a nicer car, but no one is me. And
Yeah.
being able to take pieces from everybody, because I don't want to just copy. I love
Mhm.
Mel Robbins, but I can't take Mel Robbins' podcast and say, I'm going to do the exact same thing. Because no, there's already a Mel
Yeah.
Robbins, but there's
Amen.
no blue Stiley. And
Mhm.
so I have to take that and leverage that and take these pieces from the things that I can pick and choose to make a better me and to grow
Mhm.
and to have a better
Yes.
platform to share with more people so that
Yeah.
I can be that person to somebody else too. I
Yeah.
can say, you're not going to be a blue Stiley, but if you do X, Y, and Z, maybe you take the Z and it helps you along your
Yeah.
path in your journey. And that's what
Absolutely.
being someone, a mentor or a teacher or a
Mm.
coach or a leader really is about. It's about bringing other people up and
Mhm.
showing them
Yes.
how to do it. And you do that.
Thank you. So do you, friend. You share your story in such a beautiful way of honoring the mentors that have lifted you up, the mentors that you are now standing on their shoulders. And that's what it's all about, right? People look at you or I, or the same way that I used to look at people and say they have it all together. That is
Mm-hmm.
so not true. None of us have it together, but we can take what we have and we can use it to make not only ourselves bigger, better, stronger, but other people. And that's where I think you grow and you become more whole, is when you are investing into other people. You are leading well.
Oh, leading well. I like that a lot.
Mm.
What you hit on something that I find important, and that is that um, there's always going to be somebody better than you, have more than
Mhm.
you, and have more experience or have a better life, and they have it all together, right?
Right.
And you don't know the path that they've gotten.
Mhm.
You can't be jealous and mad at them for getting there, because you have no idea how much
Yeah.
sacrifice or how much blood and tears they've put into something, or hard work that they've done to do it.
Yeah.
And I remember learning that in Japan, because there was I competed against this guy, and in the karate class, we were given 3 punches that we were supposed to do, and I was to block a head punch and then 2 body punches, and then I was to counter. And this guy hit me with all 3 punches and backed out of it before I even blocked his first one. And I was like, this guy's the fastest human being I've ever seen in my entire life. And instead of being mad and being angry and saying, well, maybe it's because he has his own personal coach, or maybe his dad's a karate instructor, I just asked him, I'm like, why are you so good? Like, how did you get so good? And he goes,
Yeah.
Blue, I'm slow. And I'm like, what? And he goes, yeah, I'm slow. And I didn't realize he was the all UK, all European champion. But he said he was slow. And I go,
Yeah.
well, what do you do? And he goes, this is what I did. And he used to take this surgical tubing and tie it around his legs and his hands, and he would kick with it thousands of times. And that's how he got
Mm.
fast. I learned that from him, and I
Mm.
never would have learned that if I hadn't A, asked, and B,
Yes.
had the humility enough to know that that guy kicked my butt,
Mm.
but I was able to ask him,
Yes.
you are better than me. I accept that. But how are you better? Because I want to
Yes.
be like you, and to
Yes.
find that person.
Yes, Blue, that is it right there. It's, and people love to be asked their opinion. They love to be asked, how do you do this? How can I be better? I mean, that you love it. I love it. I love to
Mm-hmm.
help people. Most people love
Yes.
to help people. And that's how we get better. And I love that you did that. That's
Mm-hmm.
amazing.
Well, and I
Mm.
think that people assume that the world owes them everything,
Mm.
and it doesn't. But
Mhm.
anyone and everyone will help you if you ask for help. I mean,
Yes.
like, when was
Yeah.
the last time that you asked for help? Like, honestly, and
Yeah.
there wasn't a string attached to it, other than like, can you just share with me, like,
Yeah.
how did you learning to fish versus you just giving me
Mm.
the fish, right? And it's like,
Yeah.
if you ask, how do you set the line? What time do you
Yes.
put what time is the best time to go fishing? Like,
Mm.
is it in the winter? Like, what food are you using on the end of the line? Like, learning how to do
Yeah.
something is the journey, and most people are
Absolutely.
willing to tell you how.
Absolutely. And just having that desire to learn something, right? Don't stay here when you have no idea what the heights could be. So, and you're not going to get there by staying here. You have to ask, I try to say, I want to learn something new every day, whether it's about myself or somebody else, or how to do something. I want to learn something every day.
Well, mediocrity should never be celebrated. One of my
Mm.
Olympic athletes told me that when years ago, and I was learning that from a kid. Uh, and I try to say that to my kids all the time when they say, "Well, I'm bored. I'm bored." I'm like, "How are you bored? Like, you have so much potential to learn now with everything
Yes.
online and from the
Mm.
books." I mean, we had to look things up back in the day.
Mhm.
If you wanted to learn
Yes.
something, you had to have the encyclopedia set, and it's
Encyclopedia.
like, right? And it's like, oh, look that up. But now everything is at their fingertips. And so there should
Mhm.
never be a moment when somebody's bored, because if you're bored, you're not learning, you're not
Yeah.
challenging yourself, you're not
Mhm.
pushing yourself to that limit. And
Yeah.
you hit the nail on the head with that, Kim.
Yeah. 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 And I think sometimes for our kids today, it's just too easy. Like, we had to put the effort in, right? We had to
Yeah.
go to the encyclopedia, look it up. And like you said, it's just so fast for them. It doesn't
Hmm.
feel like an effort.
Well, and do you remember when you would go on a road trip, and you had to print out MapQuest, or you had the
Yes.
map inside
Yes.
your glove box? And it's like you had to figure out how to get from A to
Yes.
Z, right?
Yeah.
And now it's
It's
just
so
easy.
true. You had to have some skin in the game, and it's just so easy today. But that's why the effort is so important.
Well,
The
and,
effort
and you
for
had to have
yourself.
quarters. You had to have quarters in your car so you could make a
Yeah.
a phone call.
Yeah. For this, yes, the payphone. Yeah.
Yes, a payphone. Oh my gosh, that's
Oh my gosh.
amazing.
It is.
Well, so you're sitting here, and you're in a position now where you help others, and you have
Mhm,
the experience and the resume to show that you've gone
mhm.
through that fire. Like, what does that feel like to make a difference in so many people's lives on the
Friend,
day
it's
to
like
day?
it's such an honor. It's very humbling. But it's such an honor to be able to believe in these women who have never probably had anybody believe in them.
Mhm.
Um, but to be able to say, you can do this, because our system really keeps them here and they don't want them to go any farther than that. And that's been a generational belief that, we have this is all we can ever get. And
Mhm.
this is as high as we can go. That is so false, just so
Mhm.
false. And so it's a miracle every day. It's a miracle every day to see these women believe that they're more than what they've been told they can do or be. It's
Well, and
beautiful.
I think that goes for everybody, right? Because a
Hmm.
lot of us don't believe. I think we're our own worst enemy, and especially
Absolutely.
when you come from a fractured family,
Hmm.
or a life of poverty. It's like you're
Hmm.
just constantly told you're
Yeah.
not good enough. This is the status quo line. You're never going to get above this. You're never going to get educated. You're never going to have enough. You're never going to have
Hmm.
more than what you need. And it's like
Yeah.
to be able to. People don't realize how great some people have it, or what
Yeah.
you could have if you apply yourself that a little bit, because of that
Hmm.
mediocrity shouldn't be celebrated. But for people who don't know any different, to
Yeah.
see someone like a mentor, or to see someone that you could look up to and that you want to be like, that's important. And I think
Hmm.
that's what you do at Christ Kitchen, is not only
Yeah.
like you're saying, like, you can get out of this, and there is more to life than where
Hmm.
you're at,
Hmm.
and you can make a difference, because all
Yes.
of the women that you work with can make a difference, whether it's with their
Absolutely.
kids, or with their
Yes.
family members, or with
Hmm.
future women, because that's what
Yeah.
you're doing. But it's like,
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people even realize that they can make a difference.
Yeah.
They don't know.
Yeah. And
Can
friend, it's so much bigger than that. I mean, right? So you touch, what do they say about Billy Graham? He touched so many people, but how many people? It's that ripple effect, right? So you
Yes.
touch your sphere, and then it just goes out, and it's bigger than what any of us can imagine. So you're right. If they just start with your circle, and then let it all happen. Yeah.
Well, and you mentioned that you don't know the reach that you have.
Hmm.
You don't know the influence, and that's like one of the topics that I talk about, is that most people that have helped get you to where you are today
Hmm.
might
Don't
not
know.
even know
Hmm.
that you have helped
Yeah.
them, right? And
Yeah.
so how special is it for you to be able to reach out to that person and let them know? Because
Yes.
A, they might not know, and B, like, you just made their day.
Yeah.
And you don't realize the influence or the impact, the significance that you can have on another person. And all the women you work with, all the
Hmm.
kids that I've taught, all of our listeners now, I want you to hear that you are special, and you
Hmm.
can make a difference. And maybe
Yeah.
that's just your community. Maybe that's just starting at home, but maybe you have no idea how far your tentacles can
Yeah,
reach.
absolutely, friend. And when you get that negativity, when you get that, and we all have had it, right? We've all
Hmm.
had that tear down. Look at the situation, and rather than internalizing that and saying, "Oh my gosh, that defines me. That's who I am." Blue, if you said, "Kim, this and this," I would be like, I would take advice from you, Blue. So I'm definitely going to take that criticism, and I'm
Hmm.
going to look at it. I'm going to look at it and see, assess it. But
Yes.
don't let it define you, right? If it's somebody that you trust, definitely look at it. But otherwise, it has no power, right? It could just be a banging gong
Well, and
and just something to stop you.
Yeah, and it stops people. The
Mm-hmm.
fear of being told that you're not good enough or
Mm-hmm.
that you're not
Absolutely.
enough,
Mm-hmm.
it stops us in our tracks. And
Mm-hmm.
I love that you mentioned the fact that um, I have a friend, and he is my lifetime best friend.
Mm-hmm.
And no matter what, he and my wife are the two people in this world that no matter what, if they
Mm-hmm.
tell me I'm wrong, I don't question it. I don't
Yeah.
argue it. I don't debate it. I don't have an adult tantrum right here. It Whatever they're saying, they know me well enough, and it's not criticism. It's not a negative. I can't take it personally.
Yeah.
Like, they're calling me out on something,
Yeah.
and whatever they've called me out on, I can't argue with it. It is
Yeah.
absolutely right. And to have a group of people like that, that's very special for me.
Yeah.
That's very
That
special.
is.
But I
Yeah.
also have a group of people, my mentors, my coaches, my best friends, my friends' parents, that all give me this advice. And I never take it personally. It just, how do I take what they said and
Mm-hmm.
maybe apply it, maybe fix it, maybe use it to
Mm-hmm.
grow and become better for
Yeah.
myself or for my family or
Mm-hmm.
for them. Maybe I'm trying to help them. But to
Yeah.
not take things personally and look at it objectively and grow from it.
Yeah, friend. Yeah. Yeah. Don't let it stop you. Let it empower you.
Let
Yeah.
it empower you. Let it ignite a fire under
Yes.
you, because
Yes.
maybe that's the catalyst sometimes that some people are looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you didn't have that with getting out of poverty, but it's like, it's an accumulation of all of those things.
Absolutely. I mean, I have so many people that made me the Heinz 57 girl.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I love that. Well, I'm going to compliment you on something, because we talk about influence and we talk about reach and making a difference in people's lives. And there are two things that I would love to compliment you on. One is my mantra moving forward this year is having something that's memorable, valuable, and referable. And when I spoke for you, I tried to hit all three of those pistons. And you refer me all the time. You
Mm-hmm.
speak highly of me. And it is one of the most amazing things, because it always comes back full circle to me, like the boomerang effect. And you're very, I almost want to say, like, you take pleasure in seeing me grow and prosper.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
know you do that
Yeah.
with the women that you work with at Christ Kitchen. And so
Yeah.
it's not only at work that you're doing it on a personal side too. So I
Mm-hmm.
appreciate that. And that's my
Thank you.
first compliment.
Thank you,
The
friend.
second compliment is something that I bring up in speeches all the time. And so your influence is not just a local thing, whether I'm in New York speaking or in Japan. I
I love
talk
it.
about this, and do you know what it is?
I think so. It's Captain Morgan.
Yeah, it's Captain Morgan. Yes. All right. So for the audience, when I spoke for Christ Kitchen, you sent beforehand, you sent me a thank you card for being willing to come and speak. And it was the most beautiful handwritten card and envelope I've ever seen in my entire life. And right when I got it, I looked at it and I was like, holy moly, look at this. And my wife grabbed it from me, took it over to our daughter, and she goes, this is what handwriting is supposed to look like right here. Right. And the impact that made, not only to me, but to my wife and to my daughter. And now I spread that. And I tell everyone that I speak to, especially like organizations and with companies, about the importance about going above and beyond and standing out. And it doesn't have to cost a lot of money. It doesn't have to take a lot of effort.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's that handwritten thank you card. And if you have handwriting that looks like it belongs on a Captain Morgan bottle, it's just that much better and special.
Thank you, friend.
It is so memorable, Kim. And your handwriting is beautiful. I actually did a post this morning on LinkedIn about the importance of having what your signature means to you. Right. And that my signed name is the only good handwriting I have. Everything else
I
is
love
horrible.
that. Thank you, friend. That's so kind. So kind.
Well, you do. You make an impact on people and you
Thank
have
you.
this influence, even when you don't think that you do. You don't know how your tributaries are reaching different
Mhm.
lakes and
Yeah.
different streams and different oceans, and you do that every
Amen.
single day. How
Thank you, friend.
how has Christ Kitchen come together? Like, what can you explain to
Yeah.
everyone? Like, what it is, the organization that you head, and what you do for everyone. I would love for you to hit that,
Yeah.
please.
So Christ Kitchen has been serving our community for over 25 years. We're a work training and discipleship program for women in poverty. Our women come out of abuse, trafficking, prison, addiction, um, and we're kind of a restart for them. We're definitely not the first stop, but they come to us and we wrap our arms around them and help them believe that they are more than what the world has defined them as. And then we have, job training matrices that they can go into and thrive. We deal with the body, mind, and soul. No two traumas are alike, no two women are alike. So we're not an 18-month program and then you're out. God gets to decide how long your journey is and how long it takes for you to get to that healing to where then you can thrive. We have
Mm-hmm.
a 96% retention rate. The women that graduate our program stay on the straight and narrow, and graduation means you are no longer addicted to any substance, any unhealthy relationships, or no longer on public assistance. Because of that, we don't take government funding because we tell the women we need to be self sufficient and Christ reliant. And the system, like I said, is that barrier that keeps them down and
Mm-hmm.
says, you need to be here because it does. There are people that need the system, and that is
Mm-hmm.
100% great. But
Mm-hmm.
there are people who are on the system that are amazing and can get out there and be amazing in this world that need you.
Well, and
So,
not only that, but it's like so. For example, when I worked at Gold's Gym, it wasn't Gold's Gym making me a successful trainer. It was me being
yes.
able to connect with my clients and
Mhm.
networking and making my own business. So it
Yeah.
wasn't Gold's doing that for me. It was me, and I had to believe that it's not Gold, it's me, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I had no idea that I was actually holding myself back
Mm.
and thinking, oh, I have to be here. I'm landlocked here. I have to be. No,
Yes.
I had to spread my wings and I had to take a
Yeah.
very big chance and go out
Yeah.
on my own. And I'm so glad now that I look back and I say, I never would have accomplished what I did. I never would have done what I did if I had stayed there thinking that's
Mhm.
the best I can be.
Yeah.
I had to
Yeah.
realize that there was more to offer. And I think that's
Absolutely.
what you can do with the women that you work with too, is that it's like
Absolutely.
they might not realize that they can be so much more.
Yes.
People on assistance can be so much more, but
Oh,
they need that
100%.
chance.
Yes. And it doesn't, the generational poverty says this is as high as we can go. And that is so not true. You can blow the doors off of this high.
Mm.
You just need that chance. And that's exactly it. You need somebody to believe in you, love you, support you, and help you find your worth because it's in there. You just have to believe it, just like you said.
Well, and your 96% is a huge number. And
That's
I
Jesus.
oh my goodness, I
Yeah,
love that.
that's
It's like
Jesus.
that is something to brag about.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
we talk about making a difference and impacting people. And down the line, I always say, I want you to be the recipient of that phone call, that text, that
Mm.
email that you're told that you have made a difference in somebody's life.
Yeah.
How often does that happen to you?
I do get a lot of letters, and I have actually a box that I keep them in, or emails that I'll print off. And it's so amazing. It's so humbling, to just be a part, just a small part of somebody's journey. I get to be this blip that helps launch them into the next season. And we are kind of a safety net. So they're launched and then, life happens and they can come back and get that love and that prayer, and we can, help them muddle through the mire, because we all walk through it no matter where we're at in life. So it's just an honor to be a lifelong mentor to them. A
Well,
lifelong,
and
it's
I'm
like a
assuming they become
family.
family. Yes.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. It's
that
family.
it is
Yeah.
family. And I
Yeah.
think that in the service industry, for me, my clients were always family to me. And I
Mhm.
think that makes you stand apart, and it makes you feel like you are making that difference. And
Yeah.
you obviously are. When they go out on their own, you had mentioned that no one's story is the same. And
Mm-mm.
and it's
Mm-mm.
not. It's I spoke to these kids in the juvenile program, and like their story, I'm never going to relate to
Yeah.
their exact story. Like there are some of their heartache is like trauma. I
Mhm.
am so blessed and lucky never to have experienced that. But what I can do is I can put myself in their shoes and tell them,
Mhm.
I did not go through what you did, and
Yeah.
what you feel and what the pain that you have is horrible. But what
Mhm.
are you going to do with that now?
Yeah. What are you going to do with it? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Are you
And
going to let it define you, or are
yes,
you going to let it empower you?
well, and I'll tell this story. The kid had a traumatic loss of his parents, and
Mhm.
he he was like, and it was horrible. And I go, yeah,
Yeah.
I can never know what that would feel like, and that's going to
Mhm.
stick with you for the rest of your life. That's not going to go away. You're going to remember that, and
Mhm.
it's gonna have a stain on you. But what you choose to do with that,
Mhm.
are you going to be angry, resentful,
Yes.
vindictive, and you're going to take it out on other people who didn't
Mhm.
cause it?
Yeah.
Or are you going to use it as leverage, as a catalyst to make a
Yes.
difference in somebody else's life? Because
Yes.
maybe you could be a motivational speaker like me. And this kid's
Absolutely.
eyes lit up, and he's like, I can do that.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
you can
ooh, I
do
love
that.
that.
So,
Mm, I love
and
that.
well, and to make that connection to a kid
Mhm.
is
Oh,
different.
100%. 100%. But it's a life connection, right? You are giving them something to look at outside of themselves, which is where the magic is.
Well,
Outside of
and something to
yourself.
look forward to, a purpose or
Yes.
intent to drive. It's like a
Absolutely.
goal. And a lot of these kids don't even have goals. They're just like, it's one day to
Mhm.
the next, right? And it's like
Absolutely.
their currency might
Mhm.
be, oh, if I only had a Switch game system or
Yeah.
something. Like, no, like,
Yeah.
what about going to college? What about
Yeah.
living in Europe? What about being able to go and enjoy wine somewhere else? It's like there's
Yeah.
so much in this world to experience, and a lot of the kids don't know
Absolutely.
that.
No, and don't dream that, right? Because
Yes.
nobody dreamed that for you. Nobody dreamed it for me. And oftentimes nobody dreams that for our kids today. But you can dream it for yourself. And if you can dream it, then there's the motivation, right? There's the motivation that's going to get you bigger, better than where you're at right now.
If you can dream it, that is the
Mhm.
motivation. I love
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
If you were to tell your past self something, like
Mhm.
what, or possibly like what you tell the ladies that you work with all the time, is
Mhm.
there a something that you hold so dearly that you would want our audience to know that would change their lives?
Yeah.
Your past self, like what would you tell yourself? What would that one thing be?
So I think it would be to lead well, right? Whether it's myself, whether it's others, just to lead well with passion and conviction. And then ask yourself in that, am I leaving the role I'm in better than I left it? And if we can say yes, whatever that role is, maybe it's not leading where I'm at, but maybe it's leading your home. Maybe it's leading your child. Maybe it's leading a friend. Whatever that leading role is, are you leaving it better than when you found it? And if you are, then you truly are lifting the next generation, the next person into a better position where they can reach for greater heights. And if we
Oh,
all did that, wow, what a world we would live in.
y- yes. I,
Mhm.
my friend Paris did double click on that in one of our podcasts, and that's
Yeah.
absolutely true. Like, we can do so much good, and help
Yes.
people, is being
Yes.
kind. We had
Yes.
my kid's principal for her elementary school, Jennifer C.T.S.C, and she came on and she was just like, their school mantra is be kind.
Mm-hmm.
And how hard is it to be kind to somebody else and to
Right.
lift them up? And if they ask for
Yes.
help, to help them.
Yeah.
And I think the reward of helping another human being
Yes.
is way more than making
Man.
fun of them or picking on them or
Absolutely.
calling them out or
Yeah.
pushing them aside or looking away, because it's so much easier to look away. And
It's so easy.
it is. And
Mm-hmm.
because it's that stigma. It is
Mm-hmm.
that stigma. And you being able to be having a platform and a community around you that supports
Mm-hmm.
so many
Yes.
others is that is a gift that keeps on
Yeah.
giving, Kim. And I am
Yes, it
so
is.
proud of you and
Thank
proud
you,
of what you're
friend.
doing.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It is an honor to know you, friend. And I'm so grateful that you had me here today. I'm so proud of you with this platform, because it's speaking truth. It's speaking things that people don't talk about, right? Nobody wants
Mhm.
to talk about their no. Nobody
Mhm.
wants to talk about that. But it's giving opportunity to both grow internally, but also speak to people who don't want to talk about their no.
Well, and that people realize that they are not alone. And it's like
Amen.
you had mentioned, like there's no path that's the same. Every one of us is going to have a different journey.
Yeah.
But if somebody's story that we have on here resonates or is
Mm-hmm.
relatable to the listener, maybe that's all it takes. It's that one person that we can
Mm-hmm.
change. And
Yeah.
my platform is wide, that I can reach people like this, and your
Yes.
platform is in Spokane, where you can reach
Yeah.
people. And it's like, we're making a difference every single
Mhm.
day. And when we get those emails and that says, man, that really hit home, I think there's nothing more special than that. And to be able to lift
Absolutely.
each other up, like you're saying,
Mhm.
and to help the other people realize that they can make a difference.
Yeah.
Because the kid that I talked to, and then I said, you could be a motivational speaker, he might be speaking to my kids in
Yeah.
15 or 20 years. He might be speaking to your kids, right? Like your
Mhm.
grandkids. You have no
Yeah.
idea. And so
Yeah.
why not share that kindness? Why not
Yeah.
be brave
Absolutely.
and not shun yourself away from somebody else and just
Absolutely.
lend a helping hand? And you do that
Amen,
every
friend.
day, Kim.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Where can people find out more about Christ Kitchen and the organization and the work that you do, and possibly your next events, or how
Mhm.
can they help? Because I know that you're not taking state assistance. Like, how can people
Mhm.
help you?
So we are located at 2410 North Monroe currently, and you can
This
come
is
in for
Spokane to
lunch.
our national
Yes,
our
Spokane,
national.
Washington.
It's in
Yeah.
Spokane,
So
Washington.
if you come to Spokane, you can stop in and see us.
And they have a
We have
bar. They have a bar. They
we
have
have a
a
coffee
full
bar.
bar,
We have
Captain
a coffee bar.
Morgan. They have a full Captain Morgan line there. That was a Freudian slip. Sorry. No, they have a full coffee bar and bakery, baked
Yes.
goods, and so
Yes.
yes, it's a storefront as well.
Yes, absolutely. You can buy all kinds of delicious gourmet food packages. We do catering. Yeah, it's an amazing place. We'll just come in and love on you. So come on in, check us out. We have a luncheon coming up on May 19th, 18th, excuse me, on Monday. And you can buy tickets on our website at www.christkitchen.org. And you can find out a lot about us there as well. So,
Well, and I suggest to everybody, like, the foundation is so wonderful, and the work that you're doing is having a ripple effect. And when I
thank
do
you.
go into the non-bar, I go into the
Yes,
coffee bar,
coffee
just
bar.
the coffee bar, the ladies light up, and
Mhm.
it's like some of them have read my book, and it's just like,
Yes.
to be able to connect like that, you're making a better world, Kim.
Mm.
One
Thank
person
you,
at a time.
friend.
You and your entire staff. It's not
Yes.
just
Oh
Kim
my
Kelly,
gosh.
right? It's your
I have the
staff.
best staff
You
in the
do.
world.
You
I
do.
do.
And everyone who helps out and donates their time and works there, it's just like, it's this
Mhm.
special community. And I am absolutely honored for you to have given me the chance to be back here in Spokane and to share my message and to continuously build our relationships, because you are family. And my kids and my wife feels like your family too. And so thank you for opening not only your heart, but also the doors to Christ Kitchen to us as a family.
God bless you, friend. Thank you so much. It's an honor, an absolute honor.
Well,
Truly.
It is an honor to know you, Captain Morgan. And with that, I am so grateful for you to come on and share just some of the message of what you're doing and the difference that you're making. And I hope that everyone takes at heart to be kind and to lift other people up.
Yes. And that secret decoder ring or key that everybody's looking for, it's inside of you. So, right?
Ooh, the secret decoder ring is inside of you.
Inside of you.
Not the Captain Morgan bottle.
No, absolutely not. It's inside of us.
That's right. I love it. Well, Kim, thank you so much for coming on, and just have a wonderful day. And
you as well.
I'm just so happy for you, and I'm proud of what you're doing and the difference you're making. So keep it up.
Thank you, friend.
All right. Have a wonderful night.
You too.
Thank you so much for listening to Navigating No. If this episode brings you value or you know someone who could benefit from it, the best way to support the show is by sharing and subscribing. It's completely free and helps us reach more people. And if you have any questions, feedback, or guests you'd like me to interview, drop a comment while you're there. I'd love to hear from you. And most importantly, thank you for tuning in. And let's continue sharing optimism and positivity.